You say y'all had a disagreement, but what actually happened is that two sovereign systems had a signal breach. You called it tension, he called it disrespect, she called it tone. But nobody called it what it really was: a frequency collapse. Warning: this episode will either realign your relationship to spiritual frequency or expose how long you've been operating on static. Side effects may include the grief of realizing most of your conflicts were actually misconfigured signals, a strong conviction to never raise your voice again, only your standard, flashbacks of when your spouse wasn't wrong, just misread, and the urge to apologize without words and correct without commands. Consider yourself warned. Now let's work. There was a night we disagreed, and in 25 plus years, these nights happen. This one wasn't about money, not about the kids, not about logistics. It was deeper than that. We were out of sync, and I could feel the tension in the air, like New York humidity in July, invisible but heavy. And even though no one yelled, it was like we couldn't hear each other. We were speaking in full sentences, but none of it landed. It wasn't war, but it wasn't peace either. She looked at me like I didn't get it. I looked at her like she didn't care, but none of us said what we were really thinking. Where did the signal go? Because presence isn't just being in the room, it's being tuned to the frequency of somebody else's truth, and then honoring it like your own. That's when I realized conflict ain't the enemy. Disconnection is. Every relationship, it's built on frequency. Every word you say is a signal. Every silence you allow is either sacred or suffocating. You think you're fighting about the issue. You're not. You're fighting about interpretation drift. You're arguing with their translation of you, not your actual self. And if you don't fix the frequency, the conflict keeps replaying. New script, same static. That is why couples drift. Why kids don't talk. Why leaders lose teams. Signal maintenance is spiritual leadership. And if you ignore the frequency long enough, it won't just decay, it'll dissolve. Now let me explain how this works. Every human being emits a unique emotional frequency. That frequency is your spiritual tone. When aligned with love, honor, and truth, it's clean. When corrupted by ego, assumption, fear, it distorts. Communication, it ain't just verbal, it's energetic. Tone is authority, silence is signal, energy is data. And if your signal ain't protected, it gets scrambled by everything. Social media, fatigue, pride, distraction, trauma memory. So when you enter the home, you're not just walking into a room. You're walking into a live feed network of spiritual frequencies. And if you ain't aware of the energy you've been emitting, then you are the static. And here's the consequence of staying scrambled. Your spouse will start speaking in safety, not truth. Your children will start shrinking around you without even realizing why. Your silence will become louder than your affection. And one day, when nobody checks in, leans in, or reaches out, you'll convince yourself they're distant. But it wasn't distance. It was distortion you never corrected. And since I know you want to fix that frequency, it's that time. You got the call. Now move like it's recorded.
For your convenience, there's a restroom located in the rear of the coach.
You know we start with an audit. Ask yourself, when was the last moment your tone corrupted the signal? What emotion did they absorb that you didn't intend to send? And you want to hit them with the remix. What thought are you reinforcing about communication? That you're not being heard, or that you're not sending clean? Then replace it with truth. My tone is either alignment or interference. Then you want to re-record. Let me ask you, what action can you take this week to tune the signal? Speak one less time, listen more. Touch a shoulder, make eye contact, then let the silence speak for you. You thought they weren't listening, but the whole time they were tuning to your tone. They memorized your tension. They absorbed your static. They backed away from your love because it came with interference. And if you don't fix the frequency, they'll find a quieter station to call peace, even if that station isn't you. Protect the signal before the silence becomes permanent, before your house starts translating your presence as pressure. Because once the frequency dies, you don't just lose connection. You start walking around your own house confused, spiritually pulling your hair, repeating yourself in louder tones, slamming cabinets, punching walls, forcing hugs, forcing questions, forcing presence. Not realizing you are the one who poisoned the air. Yeah, you were heard. You just weren't clean. Protect the signal before the static becomes a language your family speaks fluently. Own it or be owned by it. You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.